So here we are, a little bit deeper now. I've just been gently taking it away. This again, this diameter C here, is the diameter of the base of the vase, because I want that to propagate all the way up here. Then I can widen it out in accordance with the profile of the vase itself. So I've just got to keep hollowing out and keep going at it. You can see I'm a lot deeper now. I'm just going to flatten this bottom off to the depth that I need it for the gap between the two pieces and the vase, and then I can start worrying about the internal profile here. Here we have the piece now. It's bottomed out. I'm not going to go any further down inside here, and you can see I've got this caliper set now to the size of the neck of the vase, and I'm just gradually working my way down so I can make sure that the very bottom of that is the right diameter. It flares out from there, and for that I'll be using this profiler. So obviously it'll be that way around, inside there, and that'll give me the profile I need. There's a little bit more to do, just to shave off a few more millimeters, or a millimeter, just to give me the right diameter at the base there, so I'll do that now. You can see I'm using this tool here with a piece of planer blade on the end of it, and it's got a nice square edge so I can get the bottom square. And it's just snug, which is what I want. Now what I need to do is I need to take this profile from the side of the vase and replicate it on the inside of here. So to do this, I'm going to use this profiler, these little fingers that go across, and I'm going to push that against the piece to create the profile. However, when I do that, I can't quite get it perfectly upright. You can see that the bars across here aren't long enough, so I have to tip it in a little bit in order to get the correct profile. So I can just shove that up against that now, and now I've got the profile. The problem is though that that's not square, so I'm now going to use my bevel gauge against there, again put on the top of the vase to set up to take that same angle. Then I can use that against my rest here, which I've got square to the bed, put that against it, and that will give me my profile. Here you can see the setup now, where I've got my bevel gauge against my square rest here, and the blade of the bevel gauge is running at an angle. I've taken the profile gauge and pushed it up against that bevel gauge, and so that's the profile I need to cut. So just looking at that, I can see that I've got quite a lot of meat to take out here, and what I'll do is I'll be able to move that across gradually as I take out this corner, and that will eventually show me the profile. So I'll work across slowly, trying and cutting until I've got the profile I need. Here we can see now that I've hollowed this out, and I've got quite a good match to the profile there. There's a little bit of spring in that, but I've got quite a good match to the profile. You can see that here. Just need to set this up so that it can spin without hitting anything. You can see here, just to protect it, because this area here is very weak, I've just put a set of Jubilee clips around it just to hold it together. And I'm just going to make sure that everything's clear. Let's move that a little bit over so that I can start turning the outside face of that. And you can see I've put the vase back in there to support this now, and brought the tailstock up just to hold it in place. So that's now all under pressure, and that's holding that in place. So now I can take this down, and again I'm going to be very gentle because this is going to go very thin. It's quite brittle, it all moves about. So I'll get on with that. Making sure everything's nice and tight. Make sure it spins clear, and I've got to watch myself here, don't want to get my hand caught in between that. And I can start turning that. So now you can see I've actually thinned it right down, and what I've been doing to do this is I've been a combination of using a gouge, a bowl gouge, and when it's getting really thin, a gouge gets a bit epic when you start trying to cut into these things. You can see how soft that is. So you get it spinning, counter rotating, then you get this thing coming along, and you can very, very lightly touch the surface with this and take it down, and you can see that you don't get actually too bad a finish. You can see that every now and again where you get high, but you get lines in it. But if you're very gentle with it and take it across, you can get some really, you can get it really thin without putting too much force into the wood with a gouge. So now what I've got to do is sand this down and get a bit of shaping done with the sander, because it's a bit too thin now to start really going at hard. And then, and you can see by the way I've still got this on here to hold it in place, and then what I can do is I can go up to higher and higher grits across the whole surface and finally get a polish on it, get some wax on it. This is a fairly rough sanding drum. It's quite worn out, so it's quite firm. So again, it isn't flapping about too much. It's got quite an accurate point where I can sand with it. A new one of these would be quite large and it'd flap about and it'd be difficult to control. But a worn out one like this is actually quite good. Going to keep working it until the very fine lines that are left from the cutting disc have gone, and then I can start working my way up the grits. You can see that's particularly bad there where it was a bit bouncier. See, I'm very wary of this area here because there's a crack right through it. So if I do spin it, well, let's have it at low speed. So I'm getting quite a lot of bounce there as I do this. So to even it out, and again so that I can basically get a tool that will ignore the bounce, I'll use the cutter. So you can see I've stopped it and I'm sanding it with the drill now because this end is not perfectly circular, it's very eccentric. But I need to blend this circular bit here into this eccentric bit here. And the only way of doing that actually is to stop it and just manually blend it in. Okay, so I've done some sanding on the outside now, it's quite smooth. I'm up to 240 grit. I'm going to go a lot higher than that before I finish, but before I want to go any further, I've put the band back on, I've put the Jubilee clip back on here to hold it together, and you can see where I originally broke through the middle here. And I want to clean this up now, so that when I put the whole thing back together, I'll be able to go inside and just clean off the edge so it's all smooth on the inside as well. Okay, I've just changed the angle of this now so it's squarer, so this nice square corner here. can cut inside, and I'll just get on with that. Just let me go. And there we go. Here we have it all back together now. I've put PVA glue on the inside of this piece and then sandwiched it between the top and the bottom pieces and tightened the tailstock up using the mandrel that I used to turn this. So I'm going to leave that for a few hours now, let that set up, and then what I'll do is I'll spin it back up again and I'll clean up the inside face with a gouge and a few sanding tools, and then we'll move on to the finishing. So here we can see the mandrel in place. That was just holding everything in place, and hopefully underneath here now you can see the edge. You can see it's not even because it's very difficult carving this so that everything lines up, but it's thick enough now for me to just run a tool in there and clean all that up. I've got to watch out for this though, because that is going to be very sharp and it will just take your fingers right off. Central portion is quite eccentric. Okay, I'm just going to use this tool now, which is basically a sandpaper pad on the end of a steel bar, and I can just run that across the area that I've just been turning. It's really starting to smooth out in there now, so I'll go for grit and slowly work my way towards the higher grits. And that's not bad. Now I'm going to put an effect on the inside which requires me to spray it black. So I'll get on with that now. You can see I've masked everything up nice and neat with some electrical masking tape which I've heated and then stuck down over the rough bark. It should come off nice and easy, and leaving the bark in place. So taking its time. Stop spattering now, which means it's stable. I'm just going to run a heat gun on it just to warm it through, and you can see that it's got a nice coat on there. You can, once you start painting, you can always see little blemishes in the wood that were left. So again, another rub down with some 400, maybe 600, and then I'll start doing the design on the inside. So now you can see that I've put a Danish oil coating on the wooden parts of this, and I've done the iridescent inner coating there, and cleaned up the natural edge as well, you can see. And so just got to let this dry now, and then next stage is to wax it.